Hi, and welcome to Main Street AI, the podcast where traditional businesses are quietly revolutionizing their operations with artificial intelligence and winning. In this podcast, I sit down with industry leaders from law firms and professional services and other Main Street businesses to explore their AI journey. We dive into the opportunities they see, the challenges they're navigating, and the real impact of AI on their industries. Whether you're AI curious or ready to implement, this show brings you insights from leaders who are actually using this technology to serve customers better, empower employees, and drive profitable growth. Yandy Reyes runs an estate planning and estate litigation firm that's anything but traditional. He's built what he calls a living, ever-learning law firm, one that systematically captures lessons from every matter and feeds them back into the client experience. And he's doing it with a tech stack that would impress most operators well outside the legal world. What makes this conversation stand out is how Yandy thinks. He's not just a lawyer who dabbles in tech. He's someone who has independently arrived at some of the same core principles we talk about on this show all the time, that the real magic happens at the intersection of business sense and technical capability, that agentic AI is in its infancy, but now moving fast, and that entrepreneurs who develop what he calls AI intuition right now are going to have a serious edge. We also get into the deeply personal side. What drives a first-generation attorney who grew up never having met a lawyer to build the kind of firm he wished had existed for people like him? This one has a lot of layers. Let's dive in. Hi, welcome back to the Main Street AI podcast. This is Stephen Whittier with Satori Coach IO, and today I'm joined by Yandy Reyes of RES Law in New York. Yandy, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Great. As always, I'd like to just start off and turn it over to you to just tell us a little bit about yourself and your firm and what you do from a high level.
So, in essence, we are an estate planning and estate litigation and complex litigation law firm in New York. And our mission is to compel the decedent's legacy, which in essence involves sometimes messy family disputes. But reality is, we either go through the laws of intestacy when there's no will, or if there's a will or a trust, then we compel the decedent's wishes. And we also preserve the autonomy and the dignity of the decedent, the person who has passed away, in order to make sure that if there was any issues of incapacity, undue influence, duress, that we void such transactions and we preserve the legacy of the decedent and make sure that the heirs stand true to what their parents, their loved ones left behind. And sometimes it's an interesting situation where people are in a unique situation where they're grieving, and then something comes up out of out of nowhere, and people are like, I thought this would never have happened. Like, this is just a strange situation where this other person is now inheriting everything and I'm disinherited. And then we basically create the just principles to make sure that the court and the judge is aware of the actual evidence that stands for the proposition of, hey, this was not done right. Something was not good. And usually it's whenever someone has a bad feeling in their stomach, it's like something's not okay here. Usually there's more pieces to the puzzle that it's called discovery, where you uncover evidence through the tools that are used, like interrogatories, depositions, examinations before trial, documents that prove each and individual pieces what the holistic approach should be to the situation. And we help people basically lay to rest and allow the decedent to rest in peace, if you say. But it comes in a lot of different facets. And in essence, in New York, we've established the law practice in a way that allows from start to finish for the person to understand what's happening in each of the phases. And we've leveraged, I'm interested to highlight some of the tech advances that we've had and how we've been able to piece together things to be able to create a unique client experience, one that is a caring of the person while simultaneously allowing for the person to feel like they're heard and that their interests are actually sufficiently addressed.
Great. And certainly having gone through a situation like this myself and knowing many people who have, it seems like it's more the exception than the norm when these things go totally smoothly. What would you say, because I think it's a great opportunity too, not just to speak to what you do, but also for people that might not have gone through this yet, and how complex it could be. what do you think that people who aren't in your field would maybe misunderstand or or underestimate with this process? Like, what are some things that you would say to them that they might not know otherwise?
So one thing that I say is never fall to the comfort of thinking, hey, it's not going to be me, right? Oh, this is not going to happen to me. Oh, my situation is different. My family is different. All this or that. The reality is, for whatever reason, greed is among every human and it manifests in different ways. And, there's always that one person in the family where, you have your suspicions. And it's something that happens when what I highlight to people is these conversations about passing away are things that we shelter into the dark. We cement it into the back of our brains. We do whatever we can not to think about it, right? But then you leave a mess behind to the family, and nobody wants that. Like, the reality is everybody wants to plan ahead and say, this is what I want to happen. Yet it's hard to have that conversation. And I would say the best thing you can do is leverage professionals. And a lot of times, like in New York, in our practice, we give free consultations. We believe in the principle of, hey, it is important to know. It is important to be informed. It is important to have the conversation. Just by having an initial consultation, usually it's free, right? Most attorneys will give free consultations just to help your brain wrap around these principles that we shelter and we hide and we cement into the back. The reality is, if you have a feeling that something may not go right in the future, the only way to mitigate that risk is to proactively plan. And if you don't proactively plan, you fall victim to the principle of 1 ounce of prevention is worth a pound of gold. And if you don't plan, then you're dealing with the gold, right? Or your family is dealing with the gold price of it. And in New York, it's very, very lengthy. People, like, when I started this practice, I actually thought that it was going to be easier myself. I thought it was like submitting an application to the DMV, where you basically go in, you get the certificate, you unlock the bank account, you sell the real estate property that is in the person who passed away's name, and it's an easy, clean process. But the reality is, it's not. It is, it's interesting that you say it like that, because it is more the exception than the rule where things just go smooth. Even in cases, like, we've done case studies in our matters where we've seen, let's say 20, 30 matters that we've resolved from start to finish. And even when it's just one child, and let's say there's a will that says that the child is to inherit everything, you still have a process of like a year and a half in the probate court systems. So when you're looking at something like that, you got to just notice, hey, what can be done ahead of time before you encounter that situation. And now, and that has a lot to do with, we know that we know what we know what we don't know, but you don't know what you don't know. And you don't know what you don't know until you have that discussion with somebody who knows and who's willing to share that information and that insight with you. So I think that's the key point. Hey, have that conversation. Don't be scared to have it, because it will feel like a weight off your shoulders if you have that conversation proactively. Now, if you're in a situation that is basically, that's it hasn't been done, right? You can't change time. Then the earlier you have that conversation with an estate attorney, it allows you to grieve in peace. Like, I knock on wood always. Like, I knock on wood 10, 20, 30 times a day, because I feel pretty blessed and we have great clients. But at the same time, like, I know that they're grieving. And I think that there's an element of personhood to be able to help that person understand, hey, this is what's happening. This is the next steps. This is what we see happening in your matters. Like, just kind of understanding that and not think an attorney-client relationship too many times is like a labyrinth where everything is dark, but the attorney is leading the way. He's telling you, go left, go right, go front. We don't have to do that. Oh, plan ahead, and we're going to need these sets of documents that we need to get. And I know that gives peace of mind and comfort to the client, right? It gives the person the understanding of, hey, I know this is going to be hard. I know this is going to be lengthy, but I know I have guidance. I'm not trying to figure this out. And the worst thing that I've seen is where somebody tries to fix their own thing, and then they get a court sheet or they get some updates that they didn't expect, and now they want the attorney involved. And guess what? Having to fix a medical procedure like a surgery, right? A open heart surgery is very similar to a legal procedure, where If you have a surgeon or you have a person doing a surgery on someone, and now you're saying midway, hey, I can't continue to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. Now having a surgeon or a specialist or an expert come in is going to cost more because he has to fix what you messed up. He's going to have to review everything that you did instead of starting anew and doing it right the first time. So those are a few things that I've seen on the top level things, high level that I'm thinking top of mind.
Yes, that's great insight. So now I will start to pivot over to the tech conversation and AI. Could you talk a little bit about trends that you're seeing? And you mentioned some of the things that you're doing yourself for the client experience.
Yeah. Oh man, this is such an exciting time to live. I can't tell you enough. Like, it's a scary time, it's an exciting time, but it's like any other time, right? Where you have innovation, compelling results in the real world. And there are people now who sit and don't have an email. There are people in this day and age that do not know how to conduct a Google search, right? That is the bottom line of the poll. Those are people who have given up on technology, and it is what it is, right? I find it hard to believe that they will ever catch up. Versus you see the other side of the spectrum where you have people that are experimenting with everything, pushing the boundaries, buying all the technologies, buying all the tools, and trying to see what connections can be made. So, I mean, I consider myself to be on the other side because I proactively do my best to stay on top of things. I'm constantly doing CLEs and trainings and mentorship, because the reality is there is a dichotomy. There's a dichotomy happening right now that has, I guess it always happens with the new innovations in technology and everything, but in essence, there are business owners and then there are tech people, right? They each have specializations and capabilities that each of them are not aware of each other's leverage and key points. And the more that the tech person understands of business systems, methods, and strategies, and all that stuff that the CEO usually knows, and the more that the CEO understands the key tools and key leverage points that technology amplifies, automations and integrations with AI, you now have this Venn diagram coming. And in the center, that is where the greatness happens, right? That's where you see the awesomeness, right? Like that's where you see the creativity spark, and it's amazing. So in our world, in the legal landscape, we've done a lot of things. A few things is using technology, which is like Zapier, to be able to integrate between platforms, between like Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Sheets, to be able to track matters. We have so now we have to be able to identify a key difference between an automation and an AI integration, right? Because an automation, I think people are much more aware of, and I want to just take a step back, one quick step back, where I brought in the people who are the low level, who don't know anything about technology, who have basically forsaken on the innovation world, right? Somewhere along that spectrum, we have something called Google search intuition. Before internet came out, right? Like we got to think back at this time, right? Like the 2000s or something like that, right? No one knew what it was to surf the internet, to search Google. No one knew what it was, right? And through the years and through the time, through the efforts, now we know what it is to go into Google and find and have a catalog of search results. We now have developed what I've coined Google search intuition, right? The same thing now is happening with AI intuition. The same thing is happening now with AI intuition, where a AI is in its infancy, and when you try to make a connection and have it flow through an LLM, a large language model like GPT, ChatGPT, or Gemini or whatever, right? When you're trying to do a tool and use it to make a connection and make it have what one is a generative AI, extractive AI, and then you have agentic AI. And when you have agentic AI and you're telling the AI, hey, I want you to go into this system, upload this document, press submit, pay the credit card or whatever, right? we have to understand that it is in its infancy. It's going to make mistakes. It is easy until it becomes hard. And when it becomes hard, it's very difficult to do, because with someone like me who does not have a tech background, I wish I did, right? If I could go back 20 years ago and tell myself, hey, don't focus so much on the law, you're going to be just fine. Learn a little bit more business and learn a little bit more tech. It would have been awesome, because the compounding effect of the cognitive real estate that you develop through time, it will make it easier now. So now I'm learning my own lack of knowledge and insight when it comes down to tech, which what I believe now is, when you are able to understand that, hey, this AI piece is such in its infancy that it's going to make mistakes, but keep trying, keep experimenting, because then you are at the leading edge of it. You are seeing what it is, and it's growing in such an exponential rate that it's fascinating. I saw a podcast recently where, in essence, it had said that back in the day, what Moore's law, right? The doubling of chip semiconductor capacitors to double every 2 years, right? Or something like that. AI now is doubling every 7 months. What does that mean? Before, probably like 2 years ago, Agentic AI, you gave it a task and it was able to do a task for half an hour, because it had the sequence of events to be able to continue to work for, correction, 30 seconds. In a matter of a few weeks and months, it has gone up to like 3 minutes of computation power that it can continuously execute a consecutive task within its discretion, and it's able to do further. So it's just fascinating how fast it's growing. Now, what is it that generally is happening, right? Most people who have wealth, who have most of the assets in the world, they don't understand AI. They don't see it, right? It's just, like it is in the exception of the world where people actually kept up and are doing the things that they need to do. Other than that tech circle, right? The tech circle, they all know all the stuff that's happening. They understand it in a much higher level than any of us can compute. But what I'm noticing is, the technology is becoming easier to use. The user interfaces are becoming easier to use. The applications that are coming out are becoming easier to use. And what I see is the tech side is getting closer and closer to the business, while the business side is getting closer and closer to the tech side. And there will be a conversion. It's inevitable, because that is what innovation does. It compels a result, because when you're able to grab a repetitive task and have it be automated, and then add AI integration to it, so you can have personalization that has a knowledge base in your own practice and business, where you answer the things like as if I was doing it. It's an inevitable thing, right? Because you can't beat something that works 24/7 and works on electricity, right? So.
Absolutely. And what makes it so powerful is, we truly have like not a linear, but a nonlinear system here, where, as opposed to some of the earlier forms, now with these models, they have what I call contextual intelligence. So they really do get smarter and smarter in real time, and more efficient. And like you said, when you can control the parameters of what it is you're training them on, you can mitigate a lot of the mistakes, the hallucinations, and it gets better and better results.
It's fascinating, because the first attorneys who used AI to do a court filing were found in New York. So it's funny that we were the ones. Our state was the first guinea pig. And it's a sad reality where those kinds of instances deter implementation and incorporation of these AI systems, simply because of the fear of, hey, the deterrence of, hey, we can mess something up. But it always comes down to whatever AI spits out. It's still up to the expert and the specialist to say, hey, does this make sense? It is citing this case law. It is citing this statute. Does the statute say that? Does the case law say that? Can I independently verify what it's saying? And if you don't do that, then you failed in the due diligence part that is required. You trust the AI, but you have to verify it. And if you can't do that, then you shouldn't be doing it. So,
Right, right. Yeah, that's actually become kind of a theme here on the podcast already, where that exact point has emerged a few times, and basically kind of summed it up by saying lawyers still have to lawyer,
Yeah.
and yeah,
There's an interesting situation that I read recently. Yeah, oh man, it's such an interesting time to live because being able to see beyond with regards to law is very fascinating because you see the intricacies of certain things just because we're trained like that, right? I'll give you an example of another mess up that something happens. So OnlyFans, everybody knows what OnlyFans is. I don't subscribe to it. I don't know how people do that, but it is what it is, right? Point is, people pay a monthly subscription or pay extra money to have these models communicate with them and send them pictures and do all this stuff. Well, lo and behold, somebody says, well, this person is making hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars on this OnlyFans website. And they cannot be the individual person who is responding to each of these messages, sending things. Most likely there's some other third party or other men communicating with these other men in order to delegate that responsibility of communication and of sending pictures and all that stuff. So in essence, they brought a lawsuit and they said these models are actually not communicating with us, and we are under the impression, like a reasonable consumer, we are under reasonable belief that those are the people doing this. That's why I'm paying money. I'm paying because I want to hear what this model has to say, not what some third party has to say and stuff like that. So they sue OnlyFans, they sue the models, they sue whatever has to be done. An awesome lawsuit, well placed, deceptive practice, all this stuff, right? Lo and behold, when the litigation starts doing the thing, the plaintiff attorneys who are representing the people who were harmed, the plaintiff attorneys, somebody drops the ball, it makes an argument using, it brings the argument into ChatGPT or some large language model, grabs the argument, places it into motion, does not trust and verify, and now the judge or the defendants call them out, and when the defendants call them out, they now have to admit that they used AI and they did not trust and verify. Now you start noticing like these plaintiffs literally got screwed by the OnlyFans people. Now the attorneys are delegating their legal responsibility to ChatGPT, and now they're filing something without trusting and verifying. It is, but now
whole new territory now.
Exactly. It's wild. It's wild. That's really what it is.
So you're excited about it. You mentioned a couple of the types of tools that you're using. Was there anything else that you hadn't mentioned that you're using it now for?
So I'm using a lot of things. I'll share a few of them just because some of them are in the experimental phase, right? I'm calling it more. There are some things that are working very well, and I'm going to shout out and give praise to them. I am not sponsored by them or anything, but I'm going to give praise where praise is due. I'll give you an example. This right here is called Plod, and Plod is basically a voice transcriber, right? That's the thing there. Plod. I guess you can't really read it because of the thing, but the point is this is an AI voice transcriber. What is it that I do with it? I use it in multiple scenarios, but let's say one thing that's an actionable result, right? Because knowledge without implementation is just wasted information in your brain that doesn't really do anything, right? An idea is worth nothing unless it has a tangible effect in the real world. So I'll give you one example that I use it. I'll give you multiple. One is, let's say, for instance, I went and I noticed that we were doing a motion for summary judgment. That basically is a very intricate motion where you're grabbing the individual pieces and you're piecing it all together into a motion in order to get the judge to dismiss the case and to basically make it so that it does not go to the jury. What is that situation? We did this entire motion and we were stumbling alongside it a few months ago. Point is, we went into a retroactive meeting with the team, and I said, "Hey, team, look, let's go ahead and review what is it that happened in this in this development of this project." And then I said to them, "Okay, so now let's find out what could be able to help us if we were to do another summary judgment motion, because we're going to do other summary judgment motions." And then we then said, "Okay, we landed at the proposition that if we had a one sheet paper that basically says summary judgment motion execution sheet, and then in that execution sheet, we were able to identify what evidence we were usually needed, what was the legal issues in the matter, what was this, that, and what kind of things needed to be incorporated into a summary judgment motion at the first step of the matter, so that then everybody can have that sheet to work out of and then develop the rest of the motion immediately, so that then it's clear. This, like, let's say the petitioners or the objectants a examination before transcript needs to be incorporated into the motion. There is this audio recording that needs to be referenced in the motion. There is this transfer on death document that we're claiming to be a defective, or for whatever reason, that exhibit needs to be incorporated into the motion. So what we did there was, and then I basically told the AI system, I said, hey, I want you to create a one-page summary. At the top of the document, you're going to write this. You're going to have legal theory. You're going to have these are required exhibits, a checkbox, a checklist, or whatever it is. When I told it these things, I then pressed on the application, right? Because this is a very cool little thing here. I'll show it to you. This plot system, then the app captures the transcribes. When it captures the transcriptions, you then place it through the AI, which goes through ChatGPT. It then creates the document in a summary form. And now I grab that raw material, which I basically just transcribe to it. I then give it to my team and say, hey, refine this a little bit, do this, do that, do this other thing. Now we have a motion for summary judgment execution sheet that we work on as we're working with the matter. That's one example. We also have a situation where we want to make sure that when we have a matter come in, we want the system to trigger through Zapier and transcribe the data into the Google Sheets, so that then we can have the executive summary to meet up with the client prior to, so that then we have a clean sheet. And then the AI, when it hits that Google Sheet, it sends us an email that says, hey, this is the thing that you have to do to prepare for this meeting. It automatically transcribes the key notes. It automatically sends instructional videos to the clients, because we know that we're going to have estate planning, which is setting up wills, trust, transferring real estate into a trust, or we're going to have someone who has passed away. And then anybody who gets on a call with us has to watch the instructional video. That's just a qualification tool for me, because if you, as a potential new client, are interested or committed to do legal work or to do something, and you're not willing to hear me talk about that thing for 10, 15, 20 minutes, then you're not committed to it, right? You're just, kicking the tire. You're not really going to do anything. So what we do is we give those materials through an automation that basically identifies this is what the person is going through, this is what's happening, and it happens automatically. Whenever you're able to make these connections, remember, these are things that I used to have to do myself all the time. And whenever I have to do it, it takes me away from doing other more important things. So, but what I'm trying to do in the practice, because you asked a little earlier, is where do I see in the future? What I'm seeing in the future is us hiring attorneys to be able to take me off those specific tasks that take up a lot of the time of me, and being able to do more of the tech things to be able to facilitate, automate, and integrate AI, so that then we just have the ability to work smarter, not harder. That's really it. While still keeping myself involved on the pivotal moments in the matters, because there's clear moments where it's a lot of easier things, and we have the systems and the practices and the rule-based things to be able to effectively leverage and litigate the matters. But I still like to be involved on the more complex side of things. But I think that the entrepreneur side of me sees a lot of opportunity in leveraging the know-how of tech integration and automation.
Fantastic. So, Yandy, I want to turn a little bit more towards your practice. And we can always swing back to AI if it comes back up. But just looking at what you do, what would you say that your firm does that's very unique. Obviously, you're very tech enabled, so that's one thing. What do you say you do extraordinarily well that maybe sets you apart from others in your particular space?
I will say that we have a people first approach where we understand that tradition sometimes doesn't make sense. And the reality is, we believe that law firms need to evolve with the times. Now, law firms have been very profitable with the business models that they've had for generations. And it's extremely difficult for something that is as profitable as they are to change. And what we've learned is through proactive planning and capturing a key instructional materials that we know the person wants to know about, we're able to leverage technology in a way that allows people to learn the things that they need to know early on to set them up for success and best leverage our law firm. Right? Like what is, when we look at this, right? We say to ourselves, and this is me because you know something, what makes us very different is I know what it is to grow up without expertise and without knowing what a lawyer looks like. I never had the ability to talk to a lawyer, never had the ability to see what a lawyer looks like other than TV. And what I proposed is I need to make a law firm that I would be proud hiring if I ever had an issue come up. And I want to have a law firm that says to me, hey, I know that this seems overwhelming. I know that this is hard right now, but the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. This is the next 3 bites that you need. You're going to have this other thing come up in the future, but we don't have to deal with that now. Let's deal with this. Let's make sure that you understand these key foundational knowledge pieces that are going to help your brain start to develop what you need to give me in terms of facts and circumstances, so that then I can then give you the pieces that will leverage your situation to the best possible result. I think law firms generally are very reactive. I think that they will, and it's just a volume thing, right? Like the reality is, whenever you have so much volume, you learn that you need to do the bare minimum to be able to catch the client, bring them into the court, and now you have the case. Because once you do a filing, the rest can happen subsequently. What we've learned is when you do a lot of the planning, the strategizing up front, not only does the client become more acclimated to what pieces they need in the future, they also become more intellectually helpful. They become more acclimated to the key principles. And the thing is, like, whenever a person comes on a consultation, you hear the desperation in the voice. You hear them wanting to tell you every single detail that they possibly think is relevant, because they're kind of trying to just lay it on you. It's kind of like a word vomit kind of thing, where it's just like, here's everything, and then we kind of have to slow them down and say, hey, those things are important. We don't want to make it sound like it's not important. But look, watch this, read this thing, take these pieces, and then we're going to revisit that at a later time because we have the time to do it. And I think that's something that really, really differentiates us. Yes, we have tech first approach because we do believe that if you're not using technology, you're leaving a lot of value on the table. Like the reality is, like if and this is where it comes in. If I've done complex summons and complaints of a partition action to compel to sell a property, and I have done them 15, 20, 30, 50 times, whatever it is, and I've learned through the reaction, I've seen, hey, these are things that are constantly coming up. These are things that are constantly at people's minds. How do we get this piece of knowledge or information into some type of document, some type of video, some type of medium that allows the person to know, hey, we're going to deal with it. It's just not yet. Sometimes a client comes in and they think that they're going to do a complaint, and then in 3 months, the case is going to get resolved. But usually that's not the case, right? It doesn't happen like that almost ever. What differentiates us so much is our law firm is a living, ever learning law firm where you get the benefits of all the prior clients that we've had. And you get the benefits of actual legal precedent through what has happened in other situations. It is not that we do things always the same way. We will always learn from what came out really effective in the matter, and then we implement it through retroactive planning and capturing the data to be able to then have that new person come in and say, hey, we've seen this happen a lot of times, and look, this is how this matter is going to be best resolved. And watch this video. We have a summons and complaint litigation resolution and settlement video, for instance. It's very popular. We have another video that teaches about discovery. What are the discovery tools? Examples, giving example to people like, hey, this is how we get bank records. This is how we get signature cards. If you believe that there's a fraud, this is how we can get the documents that prove the signature differences. We then talk about experts. We talk about interrogatories, talk about deposition. And these are things that are very new, very different to people because they don't really think about it until they need to think about it. But people know about them. People know what they are. So kind of just piecing the things together proactively allows the person to feel like, okay, and you know what it is? It's also, think about it, right? Like, if I have a law firm that is providing me the proactive understanding and knowledge, I'm going to feel more confident just simply knowing that they know what they're doing, that they've gone through this before, that they've seen these kind of situations before. And it basically, I know it gives them peace of mind. Our Google reviews are fantastic. Our Alva reviews are fantastic because we proactively seek people to be informed and educated so that then they can feel adequately communicated with. And when their pivotal moments come, they then know how to take the actions that they need to take to be able to resolve their matter and lay it to rest. And that's huge. I think too many times whenever that doesn't happen, people are left with a feeling of, oh, these attorneys are not doing what they need to do. These attorneys are not in for my best interest. So that I think is my biggest differentiator in our law firm.
Excellent. Now we'll talk a little bit about your firm in terms of growth. What growth stage would you say that you're in right now, and where are you looking to get to in, say, the next 12 months or so?
That's such a hard question to answer. You know, it's like, I get it. I think that we are in a very good stage right now where the hard work of taking the extra steps to systematize and create the processes, the templates that are needed, is clearly paying off. Is, you know, if I were to say, where do I see the law firm in 12 months? I have to say where the team is highly more proficient in not making low-level mistakes and are already solving autonomously and without independent edifications, that they're doing it themselves. Like, I think that we have, like, let's say we've implemented within the last few months a dojo system. So, you know, I'm a martial artist. So because I'm a martial artist, I know what belt systems look like. I used to be in the military too, so I know what ranks are, right? So what, you know that, yeah, the thing is, when you know ranks, you know deference. You know how to be led because you know that that person is giving you this. Now, if you're also military, you know what a TM is, right? A technical manual, which basically explains every single step. It breaks everything down. So we're very, very efficient in our team from 0 to 80%. And we're very, very efficient at that. Now, me being as a perfectionist as I am, I also see, and I don't let perfect be the enemy of good. I do notice that there is certain level of growth that the team needs to have from 80 to about 95% efficiency and 95% correction in order to avoid having to do reworks, right? Whenever you make a mistake, there's more work involved. And I mean, mistakes are going to be inevitable simply because we're human. Yet, I believe that through teaching the team how to leverage AI to be able to make sure that what you're doing makes sense and that you're not missing key parts and using the limitless knowledge at this point that AI has to be able to give you these other recommendations. It's kind of like a coach in itself. It's kind of like an advisor in themselves, but it's like, hey, put that in there, play with it, see what it is, right? We're still protecting confidential information. We're still protecting client data, PII, private identifying information, but we are pushing it out there so that then it can give us suggestions, and it's working out really well. So where do I see myself in 12 years? It's not a goal with which is monetary. I think we're doing pretty well monetarily. I think it's more a goal of efficiency and proficiency. It's a goal of, hey, this team needs to level up in these ways. And what I, through coaching and through leadership training and stuff, I noticed that I pressed a little too hard at one point, and the team feels it when you press too hard. So I'm learning how to diagnose problems instead of blaming people, and I'm trying to leverage that compassion, because the reality is everybody wants to work in a workplace where they know what they're doing, that they're not making mistakes. Like, nobody purposely wants to make a mistake. Now, people are lazy. People don't lack attention to detail. People don't put that extra effort, and I have zero tolerance for that. Yet there are people who lack that attention to detail, lack the capability to actually execute on the high quality work required, and they that's okay. For those people, you weed them out and you say, hey, we're not going to be able to work together. But for the people who have this sense of, hey, I believe in excellence, and I believe in this proactively doing the right things at the right time, strategically setting things up for success, seeing the road, the end of the road, the light at the end of the tunnel, because you strategically plan things in place, and you understand the intricacies of that attention to detail and that touch, that substantive matter. Then those are the people that we're looking for. Those are the people that we're looking to hire, because we believe that those people, right? They're in the industry. They're called the A players. They're called the stallions. In sales, they're called the dragons, right? They're called those people that are just exceptional. They are unrelentless. They know they're relentless because they just want to go for it. And those are the people that we're looking for. Those are the people that we're looking to hire. Those are the people that we want to invest in, right? Because whenever you train somebody new, you're investing so much time and resources to them. And those are the people that we're looking to get on part of our team, right? We don't say we're family. Like, we're very big on Netflix, right? Netflix says we're not family. Like, this is not nepotism. I don't care if you are brother, sister, cousin, or whatever. The reality is, can you produce the results that are required, like a basketball team, like a football team? That each individual player in the beautiful synchrony of an orchestra, where you know that if you give the sign, or you give the signal, or you give the instruction, or you give the edification, you give the instruction, you give the coaching, the person is going to excel. It's going to thrive. That's what we're looking for, and that's probably in the next year. That's my main goal. That's my main goal.
Yeah, very smart. How big is your team, by the way?
So we have one case manager, which one is they're both law clerks. So one is a case manager, one is a law clerk. We have two paralegals. We have one virtual assistant. I'm the sole attorney right now. We're looking to hire one more attorney. We're looking to hire one more paralegal. And that's the size of the team right now.
I always have this magic wand question, which is around the theory of constraint. So if you could wave a magic wand and fix anything in the business right now, what would that be?
It really would be the ability to delegate to a trustworthy and impeccable attorney that can get the matters back to me for finalized and eased review through presentation, so that then I know that the lawyer side of the law firm, except for the strategizing and the implementing of certain systems and practices that I can focus on, that's really the restraint that I'm having. The restraint that I'm having is, we tried to hire someone who would be able to become the attorney, and now they have to pass the bar exam. So because of that, we're in a situation where I'm the bar card. I'm the one that's whose name has to be on all the documents and everything. But it's also a person who understands how to merge business practices and raise efficiencies, uh, like with us, so that then I can help them grow in their own endeavors as well. So that's really the constraint that I've been feeling for like probably the last few weeks and months, that I'm actively looking for. We're actually going to put in a post for LinkedIn to be able to get somebody else. When we first tried to hire, we saw so much intrigue, so much a promise. The hard part is that when we try to hire older attorneys or more experienced attorneys, our concern is you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So that's hard. However, we have seen that there is so much interest in working remotely to the point that I believe that if I can get someone who can be licensed in New York, who can work fully remote while simultaneously having the ability to travel to the law firm or to New York when necessary, if required, then I think that that would be the one that I wish to wave. Like just having that efficient legal individual. I call them, Suits. Have you ever seen the show Suits?
I
So
didn't watch it, but I'm familiar with it.
there's a guy, his name is Mike Ross, and then there's Harvey Specter. My goal, and it probably won't happen in a year, but I'll probably see it in about 3 years, where I strive to be and mimic and imitate and admire a Harvey Specter, who he's his nomenclature and his claim to fame in the show is he's the best closer of New York. I'm not striving to be the best closer in New York. It's not about that. It's more about having the efficiency to be able to see the cracks in a matter, to be able to highlight those cracks when they need to be done, to be able to resolve a matters efficiently. Because everybody wants to pay the lowest amount of legal fees required to be able to resolve the matter, and they don't want to be in protracted a continuous litigation. So that's really a beautiful thing where Harvey Specter in the show is always finding these little cracks, and boom, now you have a strong case. But then you have right, whenever you're doing these things, you start to notice that the main player needs that right hand person. And that's really it, that we need that right hand person like Mike Ross, who is exceptional in what he knows and what he does. And he understands independently how to make these creative connections that allows for valuable input when presented to Harvey Specter. And that's really it. Like I'm telling you, I have do you know Hughes Chase Hughes? Chase Hughes is pretty awesome when it comes down to he's like a behavioral psychologist, and he is at the proposition of, hey, we have mammalian brains, and when we have mammalian brains, when we see something tangible, we can easily work to achieve that thing. And he proposed to grab a picture of yourself and place it into AI so that the AI system can go ahead and show you how you look like when you're 96 years old, right? 95, 100 years old. Because the idea is when you see yourself so old, you now have a visual representation of who you are, and you can now attach characteristics and attach behaviors, habits, things that you aspire that person to already have. So I started to do that, and I'm calling it the road to 50, my road to 50. I'm 39. I'm turning 40 in a few days, actually, in January 4th. And what basically is, I did the exercise and I started to capture my road to 50. And I start to notice, I'm like, I spent all this time building to be who I am now. And I'm very blessed, knock on wood. I'm very happy with everything that's happening. And I've learned to be useful. I've learned to be resourceful. And it is a beautiful thing to be someone who people covet to be next to be around, to help people solve these complex problems. And so what we started doing, and what I started doing is ascribing certain characteristics and certain requirements and certain things that that person at 50, Yandy Reyes, will no longer will force himself to have, and will not accept otherwise, will be uncompromising in certain things. And it's as little as, hey, I no longer make lines in the airport. it is what it is. I'll pay the extra $50, $20, whatever it is. I'll subscribe to TSA, to what is it called? Global entry, pre-check, whatever, right? These are those little things that I knew. I was like, by thinking of this person and by understanding these are the things that that person has. This is who that person is. Now my life is just transforming in ways that requirements, right? I need to have these things to be able to get there. And it's super exciting. It's super exciting. It's a nice thing to be living now. It's cool.
Absolutely. And on that note of very thoughtful introspection, where I like to wrap things up is always move from the business to the personal. Could you say a little bit about your personal drive that maybe doesn't have anything to do particularly with growth in the business, but what really motivates you every day to do what you do?
So what motivates me to do what I do is I know what it is to not know. I know what it is to feel weak. We did an ebook, and the ebook is so awesome. It's a three chapter little book. It's like 15 pages, reality. And I go through the journey that I've done since I was young, through martial arts, through learning in college, through this sharpening effect, right? Where steel and iron sharpens iron. And what I learned is you can request for less work, or you can demand more skills. And the person who demands more skills and takes the challenge, there's a book what is called The Obstacle is the Way. And in essence, it holds the proposition of when you're trying to do anything in life that's worthwhile, those hard things, eat the frog. I also have a book. It's eat the frog, right? There are hard things that you need to accomplish in order to sharpen who you are. And I now, as we all grow up, we start to see that there are people who are nobody people. There are people who are, stuck where they are because they didn't position themselves right. And that's what motivates me is I want to be the person who is positioned to be able to help loved ones and people achieve goals. And I can do that now independently. And what motivates me is there are inefficient ways of doing things. There are stupid rules, stupid red tape, and the reality is a law is supposed to be efficient. Law is supposed to be fair and just. It's supposed to apply to all of us. And it does. And it guides everything that we do, which is why I invested my entire career in my learning to know as much as I know, to be in the situation that I'm in. So what gives me drive is just being able to notice where I am, how much I can help, and striving to noticing that there's still so much to learn, so much to do, and especially now with AI, so much to leverage, right? Where small hinges can move huge doors if done right. And I want to be the person that can swing those big doors for people, because sometimes the people don't have the strength to do it alone, and that's okay. I was there. I was weak. I was bullied. I didn't know about the rules. I didn't know what was right. I didn't know what was wrong. And the reality is, at this point, there is no right and wrong. There is no good or bad. There is a effect where you take an action and you choose every day through acts or omission what your future will look like. And what's fascinating about it is we all know the concept of hiring an expert, such as a medical doctor, where you go to the doctor and the doctor gives you prescriptions, gives you treatment plans, or gives you surgery to basically make your biological body better, right? That's an internal mechanism in your body. People don't have experience with lawyers until they need to have an experience with a lawyer. And lawyers do what medical doctors do to your body, we do to your future. We create the canvas upon which legal facts and principles create a better outcome. And everybody who hears this and who understands this knows that you doing something about it has an effect, and you doing nothing about it through an omission has an effect as well. And you live with the consequences of what you do or you don't do. So I want to be the person that people can go to in New York. Right now we're only practicing in New York, and I probably won't practice anywhere else, unfortunately. Maybe I'll I'll expand at some point in 10 years, 15 years, whatever. But the thing is, I want to be able to be that person that can help somebody understand that, hey, if you take an action, you will almost always be better than if you don't take an action. And you know, the thing is, action takers, people who are doers, people who are resourceful, people who are useful, they know that. Everyone knows that. Everybody, and instinctively, I think we all know, hey, when you're not doing that thing that you know you're supposed to be doing, you're worse off. And what's really a driving force to me is, at this point, anything that I've ever tried, I've succeeded in. I don't think that it is possible, knock on wood, for you to do your best at something and fail. And it's a mindset shift where even that failure is a failing forward, where you learn something critical about that thing. And you shouldn't take that as a failure. You should take it as, okay, show love to yourself. Say, hey, I'm happy that I had the courage, I had the commitment to do that, and I had the capability to try my best. And now I have more confidence based on what has happened to try again, to make sure that I make that result happen. And you know, I look at people like Elon Musk and a whole bunch of other entrepreneurs who basically are able to create enterprises because, in essence, they compel results through their own drive and willpower, and by gathering the right people around them to be able to effectuate actual positive change and create industries that would not have been created but for their actions, right? Omissions are not something that they do. Like, you know, like when you look at Steve Jobs and you hear a lot of his interviews, you hear him talking in an age where these kinds of flat phones were not even in existence yet. He was able to envision, this is what the people want. People don't know what they want because they don't know what they don't know. But once they have it, it's inevitable that they're going to want it. And that's what I think a conversation with an attorney can highlight for you. It can highlight it for anybody, saying, hey, what is it that you want? What is the future that you're looking for? And when you say what drives me, that's what drives me. The ability to be able to have that conversation with somebody and say, yes, I can help you. We can take it from here. Sign on the dotted line, fill out that intake form. We'll get it done.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. Really smart and insightful points there. Um, and also, just to circle back on your
Yeah.
what you just said about failure, it's like it truly is. If you stop thinking about failure as an endpoint, but rather as being constitutive of the process, right? It's a feedback loop. And all the people that you just mentioned are like these very high level exemplars of feedback loops at a high level. And yeah, that you have to fail forward. That's the only way to do it. So,
Yeah. And
uh,
you also have to notice that we are building on the shoulders of titans, right? And it's like it's a fascinating thing when you notice it, that people who have succeeded in anything failed so many times before they succeeded. And there's a quote, I don't know if it was the guy Thomas Edison or something. He said, I didn't have to make the light bulb have it right every time. I just needed to have it right one time. Right? It's like 1,000 failures, but that's not really failures. He knew 1,000 ways that it didn't work, and then made it work, and that's it. Like that's it. And it's like, you know, when we make mistakes in our law firm, or with people or anything, I usually try to not get as angry anymore. Like I used to be such a perfectionist, so stressed, so strict, and now I'm just like, look, let's make sure it doesn't happen again. This is what happened here. This is where the lack of knowledge came in, and let's make sure that we institute a way to make sure that that doesn't happen again. We learned what the mistake was. Now we can fix it. Now we can do the things that have to get done better next time. And it's like when you do it like that, you're showing love to yourself. You're showing love to the people around you because you acknowledge that, hey, this is complex. This is really hard, right? And then it's crazy how the people will think that they don't know as much as they know until they go through years of learning. And now you look back and you're like, look at these everyone else. They have no idea of all this other stuff. And you have to acknowledge and say, okay, you know something? I'm very happy I went through that. I'm very happy that I'm where I'm at now, because if it wasn't because of those things that happened, you wouldn't be exactly where you are right now. And the universe is saying, right? The universe is putting you exactly where you need to be so that then you can achieve whatever it is that you need to do. There's a guy, and this was very touching to me, which is why I am like, I no longer have, and I give myself my wellness days and moments of, oh man, this is hard, where they say that hell is when you pass away, you see a person, and that person's reflection is the best version of yourself. And they are saying all the accolades of that person. That person achieved this impact in the world. This person did this awesome thing, and this person helped this many people, and this thing. And what drives me is knowing, hey, I want to be as close as possible to what those accolades are. I don't want to be the person that says, wait, that's actually not Yandy Reyes. Like, what are they saying? He did all these things. Oh my God, man, I dwarfed in comparison to that person. That would make me extremely sad at that time. And that's a closure that I wouldn't be okay with. So, that's something that drives me.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Let me just give you a moment so you can let people know how to reach you and, find you online.
Yeah, so we are in estateplanningReyes.com. And then the easiest way to reach us is just calling our law firm. The law firm phone number is 646-577-9022. Again, the phone number is 646-577-9022. Now, when you call that number, right, my time is extremely valuable. So we require individuals who are committed to make a $50 secure the seat appointment. The consultations are free. We will always offer free consultations. But if you make that $50 consultation seat secured and you don't want to do legal work for whatever reason, or you cancel the appointment and you let us know ahead of time, we will honor and give you your money back. Don't worry about getting your money back. But the reality is, if you are not willing to put $50 into having a conversation with an attorney about whatever legal issue you're having, then we're not the right law firm for you. And that's it.
Great. Yandy, thank you so much. Really,
Sure.
really, really, really smart observations and recommendations today. So I really appreciate it. I'm sure the audience will really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on to be able to share. Ultimately, like, when what we've learned and everyone knows is like, there is a value in attention at this point, right? Attention is something that is the currency of the day, right? In 2025, right? And there's so much misinformation on the internet. There's so many people who act like they know, but the reality is they don't know jack anything about anything because they don't have experience. And experience is a great teacher, right? Yes, you can learn things vicariously through someone else, but the reality is, sometimes you have to set the record straight. And it is something that I wish I would have known what I know now, always before, right? Everybody does. But it's like, it's good to be able to share insight, to be able to help people who may find themselves in a dark situation, may find themselves lost. There's always a path. There's always hope. There's always someone who can help you overcome the issue that you're experiencing. Just reach out, right? The hardest part is saying, I need help. And that I love law because it is the only practice where you have to be the person that says, I need help. A lawyer cannot reach out to you and solicit your business without you reaching out. That's called a non-solicitation requirement of ethical rules. So you have to have the courage to say, hey, this is happening to me and I don't understand it entirely. I don't know what to do next. Let's have that conversation. And having that conversation will set you free in huge ways, because the reality is you will at least know what your legal issues are, what your principles that you stand for, what your gain, what your cost, what your investment needs to be able to accomplish your result. And that is powerful. The reality is knowledge is powerful when it is implemented into a actionable result. If you don't, you're exactly where you are with your head in the dirt, and the problem is still going to be there. And it's such a hard thing. Everybody has these hardships, and the faster you just confront it, the better you'll be.
Very well said. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Yandy.
Cool, Steven. Appreciate you.
Excellent. Take care.